biggest concern about the tent is actually this little bit of net. So we don't do any winter camping, but we definitely do spring and autumn camping. And spring particularly can be really quite cold. So the beginning of the season, sort of April, May, especially up here in Scotland. So I'm just a bit worried that this is going to make it colder in the tent. So I'm not so sure about it, but all we can do is try. I don't know if this is a fault or if they're trying to sort of force you to sit up to this point. But either way, I don't like it because it lets the bugs in. It like creates this gap. So I think I'm gonna, I want to cut it. Like I don't want to be told where I'm supposed to zip to. Yeah, not a big fan of that. And not to be overly critical, but I don't like that they've just stuck this here. I don't really want to cut it off because it's important, right? But also it's not made in a way that you can like tuck it inside one of the pockets and out of the way. So again, my instinct would be to cut it off and remove it, but I wish I could like neatly just flip it into one of the pockets. Also, so we specifically got a tent that had this kind of like outer sheet for the porch, because we like to store our stuff and it's nice to try and keep it dry. Our last tent, I can't remember what that was. I'll try and insert it. It was a Vango something, but it had this really nice sort of bathtub lining that had like a side to it that really helped keep the rain out, but we couldn't find another one like that, so we settled for this. But what I'm not so keen on is that it's all in one part, so it's attached to the tent. I kind of like that on the Vango one it was separate, so you could decide not to put it on, or you could move it around, move it outside and sit on it. So again, it's another Another thing I'm not super fond of on this tent, and also you have these little clips that attach it to the tent, except at the end where it needs to be pegged. And I just think, why did you not just put another couple of these hooks on? But yeah, maybe I'm being really picky. Very wet nights in the Coyote 3. It pretty much didn't stop raining the whole time, and I have to say it kept us really dry. Like, it was a real test for the tent, and it did work very well, which is great, because the reason I bought that tent is because my old tent was starting to fail in lots of different ways, especially the ground sheet. I didn't think it was all repairable. So I'm kind of glad that we swapped in time for this rainy camping trip. But I'm not super in love with the Coyote 3. I think there's lots of little things that just don't really work for us. It's quite short, and we're quite tall. So I'm about 5'8" and Mattia's about 6'2". And when we're lying down, it's fine, but it's supposed to be a 3-man tent. But the 2 of us in it trying to get changed or do anything is actually quite challenging, especially if we're sort of sat up. Both of us, our heads brush the inner and push it into the outer, so the inner gets wet and then we get wet, so that's not super ideal. I think we could do with something just a little bit higher. There was something else major, so putting it up. So there were 2 main complaints or negatives that we'd seen online about the tent. So the first one was putting the poles in and bending the poles into shape. We heard that was really difficult, and some people were saying that it was just impossible, that they just hadn't been able to put the tent up at all. So we didn't have that problem. 2 of the poles are fine, but the 3rd pole was really challenging to get in. I couldn't do it, Mattia had to do it for me. But then trying to get it out this morning to take the tent down, we snapped the ring that one of the poles goes into. I mean, it will still work, like it will still function as a tent and we'll still be able to get it up, but it's not a great sign. So we're wondering what to do about that, whether to write to the company and see if we can get like a new pole, or I don't know. The other complaint was that people found the humidity situation really bad, and there was a lot of condensation in the tent when they woke up in the morning. This wasn't a problem for us at all. It was absolutely fine. Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. It was a pretty reasonably priced tent, and it'll work for us for a couple of trips, but I think we'll keep our eyes open for something else. I guess the problem was we never had time to go to any stores and try any tents out, and also I'm not quite sure where we would have gone around Aberdeen to do that. Yeah, I don't know, a bit disappointed, but maybe that's because I loved my old tent so much and everything worked for me so well. But yeah, I feel like I've moaned about it a lot, but it's not a bad tent. I'll let you make up your own mind.